I spoke with over 100 agents last week, and the number one issue in all of their businesses was the exact same. That thing was how to generate leads, but more importantly, how to generate hot leads. The reason I want to cover this is because I struggled with this myself. When I was a newer realtor, unfortunately, everything I've done is documented online. So you can go back and look and see that I also said the same thing. Online leads suck. And it's not the case. It's actually very false. And it took me putting my ego aside to understand that there were people that were crushing it with online leads, and it must be something they were doing differently. And it wasn't until I actually figured that out that my whole perspective changed. And I want to share that with you because you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars with online leads if your messaging and your nurturing sequences are correct. And I can show you how to do that in this video. Now, how to generate hot leads. I want to cover this. I'm going to go through the agenda quickly with you, but this video is going to be much more personalized, and I just want to get my message across because it's very easy to do this. It's just a few slight changes in the way that your message comes across on the actual content and copy, but then more important, the nurturing sequence. So I want to cover what the bottom of the funnel looks like in terms of who you're going to go after, because there are different types of people out there that need your services. There are people that are at the top of the funnel, which are completely unaware. You know, people that maybe not looking at the news, they may have no idea what's going on in the real estate market. They might maybe not want to move. They're happy where they're at. They just come across your somewhat ad and then don't know where to go from there. What I want to teach you is how to target people at the bottom of the funnel, which are people that are problem aware and they're solution aware. Who are these people? I want to teach you how to have high converting messaging, and I want to explain the metrics that matter, because if you don't understand what's wrong in your business in general, but for this, we're talking about online leads. If you don't understand what's not working, you can't fix it and you can't get better at it, okay? There are great ways to make a lot of money online with paid ads and paid leads, and there are really bad ways as well. So I want to talk about bottom of funnel domination. You can convert almost ready leads into book calls and sign contracts. I've done it myself personally in Tulum. We made high six figures in Tulum within a year and a half of being there, because I targeted the specific avatar and bottom of the funnel people with proper messaging and proper nurture sequencing. Where realtors go wrong is this is typically how it works when they're trying to run ads. They find a ad company online, or they get a message from somebody saying that they can do all these crazy, amazing things and make you so much money and fill your calendar with booked leads. Well, the problem is they don't really know what they're doing, and their messaging is terrible, and they're targeting top of funnel people, which is people that are very cold or not really ready to make any next steps. So you're filling your calendar, sure, but with people that are just going to waste your time or take maybe a year to close, which isn't a bad thing. You do need to have those people in your database, but you also should be running, and if you want to close people sooner and get paid sooner, targeting people at the bottom of the funnel, and you want to convert almost ready leads, okay? It's possible. And this is built on Hermozi's awareness ladder. We focused on people that are product aware and most aware. I'm going to cover this super quickly because it's important. The funnel at the top is of people who are completely problem unaware. People who don't know they need to upsize. They don't know they need to get more space. They don't know the difference between renting and owning. Who we want to target are people who are product aware and most aware. So I'll give you a few examples. You want to target someone that knows, I'm renting right now. It might be more beneficial to me if I actually buy something versus just paying my landlord's rent. Let me figure out how to do this, okay? They're thinking, I need to find somebody that can help me achieve this goal. That person is you, and you get to them by switching your messaging, okay? It's not so much about education at this point, and I'll get into that in a second, okay? Maybe somebody thinks, or is maybe one of these avatars would be someone that says, okay, or thinking, I'm having a baby, I live in a condo, I need to upsize. They know they're problem aware. They're just trying to find someone that can help them achieve their goal. Same thing, I'm looking for, maybe someone says, I have this massive house, my kids are all gone to school, it's just me and my partner, I need to downsize, okay? They're looking for someone to help them achieve those goals. You change, and you get their attention by changing your messaging. Very important. So who are these people? Okay, they know the problem, they just need some coaching. Like I just said, you attract these people and you get their attention by switching your messaging. Because I had this conversation with the realtor the other day who was getting in an argument with me online about saying that online leads don't work. And I asked him to show me his copy, show me his content. What ads is he running? He was running ads about, basically had a big vague list and said, distressed sellers list here, okay? Anyone in the world, or motivated sellers, okay? Even me, if someone said, hey, I have a list of motivated sellers, do you want it? I would say, yeah, send it to me. That doesn't mean that I'm aware of any problems that I have. I just kind of want to see it out of curiosity. So sure, you might generate a decent amount of leads from that, but they're all leads that you don't want in your database, or they're top of funnel people and you need them in your database, but you have to switch your sequencing at that point, right? You have to switch your nurture sequencing in terms of like they're a very cold lead versus targeting someone that's hot, right? So these are the people we're talking about. They know the solution, okay? They have to buy in X city, they want to upsize, they want to downsize, they need to get an investment, whatever. They have seen you or a competitor, so they're product aware. They've been looking at realtors. They just need to figure out who the right person is to actually work with to achieve this goal. They just need a final push. They need trust, they need urgency, and most importantly, they need a clear next step, which is also where a lot of people go wrong. Now, the core objective, you need to remove that last little bit of friction, okay? So what does that last little bit of friction look like? It could be booking a call, could be signing a contract, could be meeting in person. Whatever that last little bit of friction is, you need to actually remove that. And again, you do that in your messaging, in your copy. You need to shift your message from education to proof and speed. This is a huge component of this. Education is important. It is important to add people to your database that maybe are top or middle of funnel, okay? You need to educate those people. Buying with as little as 5% down if you purchase a property, and okay, like that's education. Hey, if you buy here, you might, but you need to have that. But that message isn't going to attract someone that already knows these things. They know they only need this X amount of percent down to buy. They know that they want to buy an X amount of city. They know they want to buy in this building. They just don't know who to work with because they haven't seen proof and they haven't seen any clear next steps. So your messaging has to change, right? Instead of saying, explaining super high level education, if you buy versus rent, they know these things. That's why you're going wrong. That's why you're getting cold leads. Switch your messaging to proof and speed. Here's how I help people in X amount of time. See my testimonials here. See my Google reviews here. Look how many houses I've sold in this neighborhood here. Right? Change your messaging. You can have some sort of like risk reversal in there. Again, like, look, I'll give you an example of how I use this in Tulum, Mexico. The risk reversal for me and how I give a great offer to my clients is by, you can get into a real estate property with 5K down. That would be a reservation for 15 days. If during those 15 days, we come across something that we don't like, we can back out and get our money back in full. At that point, it'd only be a 30% down payment of the entire purchase price and nothing until you get the keys in hand. So it's a very low risk opportunity. Okay, my offer is great. And I do this by talking about this, Hermozi's offer stack, okay? There's 4 Ps, and we all know Hermozi. If you don't, you gotta get on them. Okay, there's promise, there's process, there's price, and there's proof. You have to promise these people something clear, a clear next step. You explain the process, you cover the price, right? And then you have your proof, Google reviews, testimonials, whatever you wanna do to have your offer stack to give them clear next steps on what to do next. I want to talk about where to get these messages across. You can choose whatever platform you want. I specifically target Instagram and TikTok. I've recently started YouTube. But the difference here I want to get in a few things here for tactics is our retargeting ads, which I'm going to do a whole other video on. I just want to cover it super high level. What is a retargeting ad and why is it so important? Retargeting ad allows you to accomplish something called omnipresence. What that means is that you look like you're literally everywhere. When someone visits your page, whether it's your landing page, your Instagram profile, your TikTok profile, whatever it may be, okay, you install a pixel on that person and then you are everywhere because your ad will continue to display a retarget to the certain person that's already engaged with your content. So it looks like you're literally everywhere spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on leads or ads when maybe you're not, okay? Tactics, it talks about email and SMS sprint that once, and I want to highlight the word sprint because once that person is in your database, because you should have a clear call to action on your ad, click here to submit your email number, whatever, they're in your CRM and now you need an email and SMS sprint. It should be hitting them hard 7 days, that first 7 days, providing value and getting them on the phone and doing whatever you can to keep that person hot, engaged, and make sure that they're going to work with you to accomplish their goal they want to accomplish. Right? So have that planned out. Have your nurturing sequence, a quick sprint at the beginning of the 7 days because that's when they're the most hot. I do have DM scripts, and what I mean by that is once someone engages with me, whether they like, comment or whatever, share my stuff, I'm going to DM them immediately and begin a conversation. That conversation isn't going to be a hard sell. It's going to be an introduction and just try to have a conversation so that you can move them forward from there. Lastly, and most importantly, I want to talk about the metrics that matter. This is important in your entire business, but specifically for online leads, it's important because You can't fix it what you don't know is broken, and you can't scale it if you don't know what the problem is. Like I spoke about at the beginning of the video, most people reach out to a lead generation company. You know, they say, here, I want to get all these appointments, blah, blah, blah. They get a bunch of appointments, they fill their calendar, and they have crappy appointments. They do that for about 3-4 months. They spend about 20 grand. They say, this sucks, I'm never doing this again. You wait a little bit until you have no more business, and you do it again next year. It's just a whole cycle. I've been in it, I've done it, it's not great. I didn't know what was wrong, and I just figured it was just online leads. It's not the case. You need to measure your cost per lead. Now, that will vary depending on which type of area you're selling real estate in. I'm in Toronto, Canada, and in Tulum. My cost per lead in Toronto is drastically higher than Tulum, okay? Now, if you're in major cities, New York, Chicago, Boston, LA, Miami, Vancouver, Toronto, your cost per lead is going to go higher, obviously, just because of the saturation of likely realtors. And then cost per scheduled call, because not only are you trying to understand the cost of that lead, but how much does it cost you to get somebody on a call? Very important. The show rate. So why the show rate's important is because you can book your calendar full of appointments, but if your show rate is terrible, it's just a waste, right? You have to understand and how to change the outcome of your show rate and how to get a better show rate. 2 things. 1, make sure the reason they're showing up for this call is crystal clear. Nobody wants to have a call put in their calendar and be like, oh, why am I on this call again? What is this? Why am I talking about here? Not what you want to happen. You want to make sure they fully understand why they're coming to that call and what they're going to gain from that call, okay? Have a time limit so they understand how long the call is going to be, what they're going to gain from it. And also, I use Calendly. On Calendly, I can set multiple reminders, text and email reminders. That's how you increase your show rate. Then you have your close rate. This is so important, something that I missed, and it was a huge issue for me because I started getting my calendar full of hot leads. They were hot leads, okay? They were engaging with me on the conversations. I was having a great time. I thought I was a rock star. I thought I finally got online leads. I'm the master of online leads. Well, I was closing a bunch of deals, don't get me wrong, but I probably should have closed double. And my close rate wasn't that great, and I didn't understand how to fix this. And it wasn't until I started rewatching my videos, it wasn't what I was saying, it was how much I was saying. Shut up on these calls and ask questions, okay? Just ask questions. That's a whole other call, but that's how you increase your close rate. Understand their why, and if you don't have a super clear understanding of their pain point, their why, then you can't sell them anything. You need to understand their pain point very clearly. And that's how you can get them with the close, because you know their pain point and you can solve that pain point. Very important. Lastly, your return on ad spend. If you don't know how much your return on your ad spend is, you're literally wasting money. You need to know that if you spend $1, you make X dollars. Once you master this, it literally becomes a game of how much money can I make? More so, how much money can I throw at this that I know I'm gonna get X amount back? It becomes so much fun and so addicting to know that if I spend $10,000, I'm gonna make 50. It's like, okay, how do I spend 20,000 and make 100,000? Because it's actually that simple. But you can't get to that point unless you track everything, you have a clear message, you have great nurturing systems, you know how to close, and you have the full recipe. Once you have that full recipe, you can literally track your ROAS to a point where it's like, okay, I spent X, I know for a fact I get Y, what a win. So that's how you target hot leads at the bottom of the funnel.